Hey guys, it's Michael again. Okay, well, now we're going to skip down to building a simple user interface. We're on the same page again I showed you in the first tutorial, and you're like, wait, but Michael, we're skipping running your application, like, isn't that the most important part? Well, yeah, well, here's the thing. There's a lot of different phones, and a lot of different people are going to be developing on this. Some might not even want to test on their phone. Some are going to want to use a virtual machine, stuff like that. So basically, just YouTube. Like if you want to run it on your phone, just like Google it even, and something will pop up. Windows is probably the most annoying. You'll need a driver. I'll probably find a tutorial and put it in the description for you guys, but we're just gonna build a simple user interface today. So let's open Michael's sweet app back up because it's pretty sweet. And we see we have this text view here that's set up for us already by default. And it's just hello world. Click on the preview tab over here, and it's like, oh, look, there's my screen preview. Pretty sweet. Okay, so we're just gonna close that, and we're gonna want to delete this because we're like, well, that's pretty dumb. I don't want to just say hello world. Like, I want more stuff. And so we're gonna say, you're like, whoa, Michael, what is this? Like a relative layout? What does that mean? Well, you have your phone, right? And a relative layout, think of it as a container. Like, where do you put the buttons? Like, you put it in the container. So, for this container, we don't want a relative container. We want a linear container. Don't worry about that too much. Just type linear in. Don't hit enter because then it'll just say linear layout, cause an error. It automatically changes it on the bottom, as you can see. And we're like, okay, well, now we have nothing on the screen. So like, Michael, what are we doing? Well, you see here, this has padding. Padding 16 dp, which is density pixels on your phone. Little tiny pixels. We'll go over that later. Anyways, match parent up here, layout width and height. That's pretty much standard for anything you like a widget, which would be like a button. And basically match parent's like, oh, fill out whatever the parent is. In this case, linear layout parent is the whole screen because you're like, oh look, there's a screen, need to take up all the space. So we put say match parent. So now we're gonna do an edit text because we're like, oh, well, let's have someone edit something into this app. And you just type in edit text like that, hit enter, and it'll come up with this. It'll automatically do Android layout width, Android layout height. Then we just want to wrap content, which is basically saying like, okay, well, only take up the amount of space that's needed because we don't really need any more space than that. So that's pretty sweet. Now we're gonna want to give it an ID, and you're like, Michael, what's an ID? Well, an ID is basically, it's almost like you're creating a reference for this. So you're like, wait, which button do I want? Oh, I want Michael's sweet button, or Michael's sweet edit text view. So we're just gonna type in Android. Then we're going to type in ID. See, it comes up right there. Just hit enter. Just hit enter again. You always need the @+ID / when creating an ID. And we're just going to call it Michael's input. Michael input, whatever. Go here. Add an S. Sorry if my cursor is in the way, guys. Anyways. So now it has an ID and we're like, sweet. So now we know what this edit text is called. Now I can be like, oh, I want Michael's input. That's the edit text I want. So now we're also going to create a button. We're like, well, you want to enter text, but you're like, well, what do I do with it once I get it? Well, the button will say what we do with it once we get it. So just type in button like you did the edit text. We'll just wrap content. And you look over here now. And you're like, whoa, there's a blank button and there's an edit text, and they're right next to each other. That's because linear layout puts the way it levels stuff is anything underneath either goes to the right of it on the screen. So over here, if I added another button, it'd come up over here. Or if we were out of space, it'd go to the next line. So just like in the edit text above, we're going to add an ID. And we'll just call it like Michael's button. And we're like, sweet, okay, Michael, now we have a button, and an edit text, so now I can like enter stuff. But wait, like the button says nothing, and the edit text, it's not very big. I can't like type my name in there. So, well, you're right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the edit text bigger. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do Android layout weight. Layout weight comes over right there. And we're going to want to set it as 1. So basically, layout weight is relative to the other things on the screen. So say I had layout weight here as 1, and we'll just copy and paste. I have layout weight here as 1 as well. So 1 and 1 makes 2. So they're evenly taking up the same amount of space on the screen. But we don't want that, because we want the text view to be bigger than the button, don't we guys? Yes we do. So now we go up here and we're like, wait, we're computing the weight, basically the width. So like, why do all this extra calculation? Set it as 0. I accidentally just hit O, so yeah, that was, you guys didn't see that or hear it. Anyways, we're also gonna want that as BP, by the way. Anyways, we're gonna, like, you're like, Michael, like, how would the user know what to enter in this text view? So we're gonna be like, okay, well, Android hint, like, I'm hinting at something, do this, and we're just gonna say, enter something here. And we're like, okay, pretty sweet, pops up over here, enter, okay, sweet, now we know what to enter, anything you want. And we're like, okay, Michael, so, like, we have a button, it says nothing, so let's just add some text, Android text, and we'll be like, sweet, because I seem to be saying that a lot for, like, no reason, so we're gonna make it sweet. Pretty sweet. Okay, so now this has to do with Java, and what we have to do is we have to create a method, or we're going to create a method. Just add this on click, basically, and when the button is clicked, it'll go to this method in the Java class, which corresponds to it. This is the Java class that corresponds to it. Right here, this is basically saying, like, oh, look at this main XML. So what do we want to name this? We'll just be like, button press. And okay, well, there you go. You have an edit text view, you have a button, that's pretty sweet, and that's your simple layout. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next tutorial.